In this session, we are going to discuss about the most important concepts of SSRS. That is deployment, subscriptions, report manager, report server, and so on. Okay, these are very important. As I told you, you may get a lot of questions from this particular session. So, deployment. So, what is meant by deployment? Deploying your reports. If you design some reports, if you develop a solution, then you need to deploy it to the server. So, this is the play. In this session, we're going to discuss about all those stuff. Deploying means submitting the report that you have developed to the destination server or the production server, whatever it may be. So now, for demonstrating the same, first let me create a report. I think the solution is empty. There is nothing here. This is just a project solution, and there is no data source and nothing. So let me design a simple report for the deployment purpose. So I'm taking data source, and I'll name it as, what is that? I'll give it as ADV underscore DS is the data source name, and I'm going for the connection string. I'll connect it to localhost. The database name is AdventureWorks. Fine, the data source is set. Now let me design a report. I'm taking new item. I'm going for a report item. I'll name it as sales, and the first thing I have to do is setting the data source. So I'll name it as ADV underscore DS, and I'll take the shared data source which I've created there, and the data source is set. The next job is creating the data set. So here I'll take the help of query designer. So what the columns, select color, comma, English product name from bin product, inner join, fact internet sales, on. I'll name it as A, alias name. I'll name it as B, A dot key, product key is equal to B dot product key. Now let's see. And I want sales amount too, and tax amount. So I have a couple of columns. Let me execute the query and see. There is something problem. Yeah, it is not P something key, it is product key, and the spelling is mistake somewhere here. Here you can see the spelling mistake. Now it is giving me the sales color wise and product name wise. Let me use this data set, and let me name it as sales data, and let me click on OK. I have all the data. So I'll do one thing. I'll go to the fields. I'll change it as products instead of English product name, which is not looking good, and I'll name it as sales, and I'll let it be take tax amount, and the first one is color. Now the next step is for me to design the report. I'll take a matrix format or table. You can go for anything, but I'm taking matrix, and I'm dragging color into the first rows. Fine. Now the next one, let me fit this window like this, and I'm showing products as the second row group. Let me give a good enough space for color and products, and this is sales, and I want to add one more column inside the group to the right which holds tax amount. So I'll split these cells to give the names, column headers like sales and tax. Now let me design it again. I'm taking right align for everything, right align for this data, and I'll remove this text, and these two I'll bold it. Sorry, I set it to bold, and even this one. And now let me set some coloring, background color and fore color for these four. Let me select this. Background color, I will set it to black, and forecolor I'll set it to white. So this gives a better look and feel. And if I execute, let me see the preview of the report. Now this is the preview and it looks good. The report is good and looking good. Now we are good to go. I have a report to deploy. Before looking at this, you have to check a couple of things, whether you can deploy the report or not. To make the deployment successful, you have to check a couple of things. The first thing is well known to you, that is service. Whether the service is running or not. You can find the service under configuration manager, under SQL Server configuration manager option. You'll find all the services. Okay, and you can see SSRS service is running, up and running. So we are good to go. And the next thing we have to see here is report server configuration manager. Configuration manager is the one which drives this. So let's see whether the configuration manager is running or not. You can find the report server configuration manager in the same folder where you find the report SQL server configuration manager. So this is your configuration manager and this is your server name and this is the instance name that you are running. So if you install a couple of instances, then you can select the instance name here. For example, I have only one instance here. If you have one more instance like SQL dev, then you can select that SQL dev and you can connect that. So which instance you want to run. So if I click on connect, now it is connected and you can see the different options like instance ID, this is the instance ID, and the enterprise edition, this is the edition, product version, and report server database name is report server, and so on. You have different information like service account. This is the type of account you have selected while installing the server, and web service URL. What is the web service URL? We will discuss about this. And the databases, you will have two databases. One is report server DB and one is report server temp DB. And email settings. So you have all these stuff related to which helps in driving the SSRS deployment. Now I connected to this report server configuration manager. Now let me show you the different databases that get installed automatically when you install the SSRS instance. If you go to SQL Server, so the databases will be installed in the SQL Server instance, SQL Server only. Now if you connect to SQL Server of the same instance, that is MS SQL Server instance, you can find two databases specially installed just for handling the reporting services. So I connected to SQL Server database here, and if you see the databases here, you can see report server and report server temp DB. These temp DB and report server DB are used to handle all the stuff that are related to the SQL Server SSRS subscriptions and so on. The data that is related to SSRS deployment and all. So if it needs any temporary memory to calculate something or to render the report, while rendering the report, it needs some temporary memory. It will make use of this stuff. And if you have any cache reports, that means which is cached whenever it is executed and will be retrieved from the cache from when you execute the same report with the same parameters next time. So all those kind of stuff will be stored in these databases. Now there are a couple of other things which you have to see when which are very important for deployment part. So those are report manager and report server. So this is my server name, http localhost / report server. This is the server where you will deploy your reports. For everything, for example, if it is my local computer, it will be like this. Localhost / report server. If the server name is xyz-235, then I have to give xyz-235 so that it will connect to the particular report server. So where you can find this report server URL, and the next one is report manager. Report server is the one which helps you for deployment stuff, and report manager you can manipulate the deploy reports. You can add subscriptions, you can add schedules, you can add snapshotting option for the reports and so on. You can do so much of stuff using report manager. As the name suggests, it is helpful. It is help to manage the reports that are deployed into the report server. So where you can find these two URLs. Now I know these two URLs, so I am good to go. If you don't know these two URLs, then you can go to the report server configuration manager, and if you see web service URL, this is the report server URL, and the port is 80. Okay. And the another one, report manager URL is here. Under reports manager URL, you can find the URL http Lenovo-PC is the server name slash colon 80 is the port name slash reports. So this is the report manager URL. You can change it here, the virtual directory name, if you wish to. Now we are going to deal with only report server and report manager. First, let's see how to deploy a report, and then we can see what all you can do with the deployed report. So both are very important. First is deployment part. So for deploying the reports, how you can do? Generally, there are only a couple of ways. The most commonly used one is direct deployment using bits. So this is your bits environment, right? This is the report you generated, you designed, and now we want to deploy this report along with the data source. So for deploying the same, you have an option called deploy. Before selecting this option, you have to set couple of properties. Under properties, if you go here, you can see override data sources is the option if you want to override the data source. For example, while you take this, consider this example. You are working in an environment and the server name is dev123, okay, and you deployed the same reports into the production, for example, and there you change the server name to production123 if your production server name is prod123. Now there is an issue in the deployed reports. So what you have to do, you have to fix the issue in the development, and again while deploying the same stuff, if you set this one to true, override the data sources, then the production 123 which we changed to access the production database after deployment will be changed back to dev123. So people will set this as false most of the cases. So while people will be working on development, after moving to production, after deploying to production, they will change the data source in the production, one-time job. That's it. And next time onwards, it will not override the data source. Why? Because most of the cases there won't be changes in the data source. So if you don't want to override the existing data source, then set it to false. If you want to override the existing data source, then set it to true. And this is target data source folder. What is the folder name you want to give to store all the data sources? I'll give some name like this. Let me uncap it. Data sources. So that means in this folder, a folder will be created in the report server where all the data sources will be copied into this. If you have 10 data sources here, all the data sources will be copied. And this is the name you have to, what is the name you are going to provide here for the target report folder is the folder name. Sorry, I'm extremely sorry. It creates a folder with the name whatever you are going to hear, and all the reports will be copied into this particular folder. For example, reports is a good enough name. So let me go for reports. Here, this is the key. If you want to deploy to the production, the only change you have to do is from the production, get the report server URL, as I showed you a couple of minutes back, get the report server URL and paste it here. This is the report server URL, as you can see here. This is the report server URL and I copied the same. Now I set the required properties that that are required for deployment. So I'm good to go. If I right click and click on deploy, you can see that in the output window in the bottom, the deployment started and it is deploying to this particular server, report server, HTTP localhost report server, and you can see what are it deployed. It deployed the data sources into the folder data sources, you can see, and it deployed the report sales to the folder reports, and it is saying one build succeeded. Now the deployment is done. We have deployed the report successfully. Now let me refresh this report server whether it is deployed or not. Yes, it is. You can see it is showing as directory, and if I click on data sources, it is showing as data set. So in the directory data with the name data sources, the adv_ds data set is available. If you want to go back, click here, and in the same way, this is the reports directory. Under that you have a report, a unique ID. So, and you can click on this, which will open the sales report for you. So this is how, this is the URL You can see the URL on the top right. Let me copy it and take it to a notepad. This is the URL you will use in different applications. For example, if your application is in .NET and from .NET you want to call this report. So what you will do? You will take a control which can be in which you can show this report, and you will pass this URL to that. So automatically this report will be called and displayed in your control. So this is the very important part, the URL part, which you are going to use to display the reports in different applications. Now you can see it has taken me to this particular report. Now this is the job of report server. It maintains all the data sources and reports. Now let's see what is the job of report manager. So that's there ends the job of report server. It won't do much. What it will do is just holding all the reports information and the data sources, whatever you are deploying. You just deploy to the particular server. Now the report manager is showing nothing here. If I click on home, it will list you what are all the things deployed to the report server. I've deployed one data source and one report, and you can see the same folder data sources. Under that you can see the data source adv_ds. If I go back, a reports folder, and under this I can see a report that is deployed, that is sales report. And now this is the icon which says it is a folder. You can see the icon, right? If I click on this, this is the icon which says it is a data source. In the same way, this is the icon which says it is a report. Now let me go back to the home, and now let's see what all you can do here. This is the major stuff. The report manager, generally admin will take care of it, SSRS admin, but nowadays no admin. SSRS developer has to take care of all this stuff. So let's see what all you can do here. The first thing, home, and we'll come back to the remaining two options here, that is my subscriptions and site settings, couple of minutes from now. And this search is really a useful one. If I search for sales, it will take and it will filter all the items which has the name sales. Pretty good, right? So you can easily search for the report. If you have 800 reports or 1000 reports in your server, deployed in your server, then if you want to search a particular one, then this is the best way. ADV, I'm searching for ADV, and it is showing there is one item with the name ADV, that is data source. So that's one beautiful option here. And if you want to create a new folder, you can use this. Just for fun, I'm creating this folder. Nothing to do, man. And if you don't want to show this, you can hide this in the list view, or you can just simply click on OK. You can see this is the folder name I created, and this is the description I have provided. And if I don't want this, then I can use the option show details. I cannot delete it here. You can see there is no option to delete. So to delete the stuff, you have to go to show details option, and just for fun, select that and delete it. That is gone. And you can go back to the option hide details. And this is about new folder. And if you want to create any data source here, if you are not getting the data source from your SSRS reports while deploying, you can create the data source here. But very rare cases people go for this. What you have to do is data source name ADV and description if you want to give anything. And if you don't want to show this, you can hide it in the list view and enable this data source. If you uncheck this, it will be disabled, so no one can use this. If you check this, it will be enabled. And you can see the option to connect to different service providers. So what is our service provider? It is Microsoft SQL Server, and you have to give the connection string here. I don't know the connection string. How can I give that? Okay. If you want me to give the connection string, then I'll copy it from other data source that I have deployed. So let me take this data source. I will have connection string. This is the same screen, right? You can see the same screen. Whatever you created using bits, the same way you can create the similar stuff. And the option you can give whether Windows credentials or whatever you want, and click on OK. So a new data source is created. So this is how you can create new data sources. And if I go to this option, you can see ADV, right? And I can edit it for properties if you want to change anything. And generate model, this is for report model project. This is not our scope. And you have apply. If you change anything, you can apply it, or if you want to delete it, you can delete it here, or you can move it. You have an option to move this. You can move this to any other folder. You have a folder for data sources, right? I selected that and click on OK, and now it is moved. Let me click on apply and go back to home to see the same. There is no data source ADV here, and it is moved to this folder data sources. This is how you can move reports from one folder to another folder. For example, if you deploy all the reports into one folder, then you can categorize it. You can create new folder name and a new folder with a new name, and you can move the stuff. And upload file. This is very funny part. I mean, whenever you deployed everything, let's say you have 800 reports in your bids, and you deployed all the reports, and there is a small change in one of the reports, and you fix that. You have to upload only that stuff. Then what you will do? Will you deploy everything, or you try to upload only one report? Obviously, as a developer, you will go for the second option. You will try to upload the single report. So to upload a single file or report, whatever it may be, you can select it here. Upload option, you can see upload a report or resource into home. To upload a report, choose a report definition, that is .rdl file. So click on browse, navigate to some folder where you have that RDL file, report data layer file. This is a long back I designed all these things, final report, first report, RDLs. So let me select this guy. Selected and name, it's your wish. Overwrite item if it exists. If the same name exists, if any item with the same name exists, if you want to overwrite, check this option. Generally people prefer this. Click on OK. So now you can see the first report is added. And how to move this? The same procedure. Select the properties, and you can see move option, move it to reports folder. So this is done. And if you see here, I'm going to home, under reports, it will be moved to this particular folder. So the first report you can see here. And if you don't want this particular report, select these details, select that part, and delete it guy. Delete the guy. So this is one option, right? And let me hide the details now and go back to the work. And this report builder, this is used for report models. If you design, we have not worked on report models as it is not part of our training sessions. So if you design any report model, then this report builder is the useful one, using which you can see the report. So you don't need this stuff at this point of time. So let me go back to home and let's see the different properties. The first tab I have here is properties. In this one, what you can do is you can provide the access. You can provide access to different users. See, I have added my name here, Lenovo. This is the user with which I'm logging in, and this is the administrator by default one. Okay. Now to add a new person, either you can select the group or username, and here you can provide whatever the option you want to give. For example, if you select only browser, that guy may view folders that are present in this one, reports, and subscribe to reports. That's it. He cannot do the remaining stuff. Content manager will have much powers, like he can manage the content in the report server. This includes folder, reports, and resources. He can manage the stuff. And my reports, the guy who published the reports and link reports, he can manage that stuff, and he can see only that particular stuff. That means the reports deployed or created by him. And publisher, he can publish the reports and link reports. Publishing means the same whatever we have done now. And report builder may view report definition. So this is the different roles that you can set for an end user. So what you have to do is you have to give the username with which a person logs in, select the roles that you want to give, and click on OK. This is how you can provide the roles to different users. If you are, if the login ID with which you are logging in is not available here, then you cannot able to access this stuff. Generally, by when installing the SQL Server reporting services, people provide this couple of roles for a couple of guys. like content manager roles for administrators or a couple of different members in the team. So they will get full powers and they will add or remove if required. So this is about the security you can provide to the report manager. Now we have seen this tab, we have seen this option, and let's go to the folder and see what are all the properties that are available for a data source. So this is a data source which I used to generate the sales report, and let's see what are all the properties. You can provide the security for this guy. Who can view, who can, so you can remove or you can add the stuff here. Edit item security, you can edit it here. And if you go to the general, this is the routine stuff. You are very well aware of this. The name, description, hide in the list view, enable this data source, and the data source connection, and what type of authentication, like Windows integration security or credentials not required, or you can select whatever the or with which user you want to connect to the data source. And dependent items is the option which says that whether this data source is used by any report or not. If this data source is a shared data source and it is used by 20 reports, then all the dependent items will be shown here. So that means while making any changes here, it's better to have a look at the dependent items. What is the impact if I change something here? So you can easily understand by seeing the dependent items. And subscriptions, will shortly come back to the subscriptions. We'll have a lot to discuss about the subscriptions. So this is about the data sources. Now what is the next one available in the same folder? We have reports, right? Now let's see what are the different properties that are available for reports, and it is very, very important part. So this is the sales report which I have deployed, and you know about all these options that are seen here. And properties is for providing the securities, and this is about the report properties, when it is deployed and who modified it, who created it, and who is the creator, who created it, who modified it, and when last modified and last created, and what is the folder in which it is having, and so on. This is these particular reports folder properties. Now let me click on the report to see the report properties. When I click on the report will be generated. You can see the first tab is view, which will show you the report, right? The second tab is the properties tab. So here you will have the report modification, just like the folder modification and creation you have seen 1 minute back, and modification by, modification date, created by, and created date, and what is the size of this particular report. It is 17 KB, and name of the report, and if any description, if it has any description, it will be shown here. And you can see the report definition edit. You can see, do you want to open or save sales.rdl from localhost? It is asking you whether you want to save or open. If you open it, if you ask to open, it will open it. In the same way, the update button to update the stuff from the file. So first you will edit it, and that means it will open a RDL file. There you can make the changes and you can upload it from the same. That means you can point to that RDL file and click on OK, which will upload the report, the changed report or the modified report. And once it is uploaded, you can click on apply, or you can move it to different folder, or you can entirely delete it. And this create link report is an useful option. You can create a link report, means it will use the same data source and the same structure, and it will create a link report. Let me show you an example. Sales link is the name I am giving, and I can change the location, or I can copy to the same location. Let it be the same. If I click on OK, you can see this report name is sales link. This is not the original sales report, but it will have the same stuff like the old one. But the only difference is I will show you the differences between the the link report I created and the original report. So this is the original report, the sales. I'm opening it here. You can see I opened by pressing Control and the button. And this is the link report. I opened both. Now let me go to the properties. You can see it has the data sources, but you can see this will not have the data sources to modify. This will have only execution history and security, but you cannot change the data source. You can change, you can you don't have option to change the data sources or modify it for the linked report. And you can see there is no option called edit and update, just like here. So then what is the use of this? What is the use of this linked report? You can create a copy of the report on the fly, and there is one more use which we will revisit in couple of minutes. Okay. Now for now, let me close this guy and let me go back to the report manager here, that is sales report. So you have seen what is the options that are available in the properties, that is apply, create linked report, delete and move, and I will show you the difference in couple of minutes for the linked report and the normal report. And the next page is data sources. What is the data source? It is using a shared data source that is present somewhere, that is copied into the data sources folder and ADV. If you want to provide a custom one, you can provide it here. And connection string, I think it is still there in my clipboard. I copied it, and the same credentials. Either this is called as embedded one. I think you still remember it. This is called as embedded connection, embedded data source. This is a shared data source. I use shared data source. That's why this was enabled. If I use the embedded data source, this would have been enabled in the report manager. And execution. Before going to the execution, let me go to the security. This is again the same stuff, the permissions related. If you don't want, you can edit the item security and you can change it. And history, let's see what is history first. Okay. So what is this history and what it helps you? You can see it helps in create the snapshots of the reports. This is a very important question. What is snapshot reports? What is snapshot in SSRS? So snapshotting means generally it will take a snapshot. It takes a copy of this report template, report design and report data. So it will take the snapshot and it will make it ready. So whenever the user asks for it, then it will get it from the snapshot. That means I already prepared one. Okay. So that report will be already available and it is ready to use. So it will be taken. So what is the advantage? The performance will be super good. So generally what users will do is, users ask us to do is, they will ask us to create this snapshot in non-peak hours. I'm highlighting non-peak hours. Non-peak hours means the time that at which the users won't look for these reports or won't call these reports. So in the non-peak hours, let's say if a report is taking 5 minutes to generate, they will schedule to generate the report, snapshot of the report, and the non-peak hours. So it will be generated in the non-peak hours. It will be ready to use by the time the users log in. Like 12 a.m. in the morning, nobody will be pointing, right? Or 4 a.m. in the morning, nobody will be looking at the reports. So at that time, they will schedule to generate the snapshot of a report, which will be ready by the time the users logs into the machines. Now let's see the different options. The first option, it is saying credentials used to run the report are not stored. So whenever, this is a very important point to remember, whenever you want to create a snapshot of the report, and if you want to maintain the history of the snapshot of the report, you have to make sure that the data sources, okay, the data sources, whatever you are using here, that is I'm using ADVDS, that should be, the credential should be stored. That means, let me go to the data source. This is the data source I'm using, ADVDS, and you can see the connection, connect using this user ID and password is not stored. If you provide this, then only you can able to create the snapshots. The credentials with which the user can, the server can execute the report should be stored, then only it will be executed or snapshots can be enabled. So Lenovo is the user and I'm giving the password. Let me apply the same. It is applied. Now let me go back to the report. This is the sales report and I'm going to properties. Oops, it is saying Lenovo connection failed. Let me check what's the problem. I have to log in with this Lenovo guy. The password is not valid. Let me go here. So it is set. Let me go to the home again. And let me go to the reports and sales. You can see the report is being generated, and now if I go to the properties and see the history, this error message is not showing. That means I am ready to create snapshots. The properties are, everything are fine. Now you can see allow report history to be created manually. If you check this option, let me uncheck this option, and I'm going to check the history here. 1 second. See, let me check this uncheck this option, and clicking on apply, it is applied. That means you can see one option is missing here when I go to history. The option is creating the snapshot manually. Whenever I want, I can create the snapshot. You can see that is missing now. When I check this option and click on apply, you can see that option will get enabled. New snapshot. That means you can create a snapshot and make it ready. If you create one snapshot and make it ready, people whenever they logs in and execute, triggers this report, it will be taken from the snapshot. So you can schedule it, or you can create one and keep it handy. So that is the option, the first one. And the second one, store all reports execution snapshot in the history. So if you check this option, all the history will be maintained, or else if I generate one new snapshot for this report sales, the old one will be deleted and the fresh one will be copied. And once again, if I create one more snapshot, the old one will be deleted. Only one copy will be available always. So that's the problem with this. And the third option is you can schedule it. You can schedule to create the snapshot. For example, you have a shared schedule option, or a specific schedule you can provide. So if I click on configure, you can see I'm going to hourly, and I'm giving for every 2 minutes create one snapshot, and this is the start time. So you are giving some schedule. You can see everything is in English and you can easily understand this stuff. So you are providing the schedule. So I'm giving 9:59. Starting from 9:59 p.m. every day, create a snapshot for every 2 minutes. Okay, and if I click on apply, this will be applied. You can see for every 2 minutes, starting from 9/2/2013, 9:59 p.m. So you have to provide this by selecting this option. You can give either hour or daily once, or weekly or monthly. You can specify whatever the requirement you have. And now it is still at 9:58. Let it come to 9:59 so that you can see whether this schedule, based on this schedule, it runs or not. Now it is 9:59. It is not yet created. I think it is in the process of creating the stuff. So 1 second. Yeah. See, you can see at 9:59, 8 seconds. It has taken 8 seconds to create a snapshot. Now this is a snapshot report that is already created and ready to show report, which will not take more time compared to the old one, right? It has not taken much time. If you see, if I click on this, it has gone to new page and it is showing the report. It is not even taking 1 or 2 seconds. Why? Because it is already ready one. If I click on view report here, now you can see it is generating now. It is taking time, but that is the one snapshot in the history. It will be maintaining in the history. And if you see the remaining properties in the history part here, select the number of snapshots to keep. Use default settings, or keep an unlimited number of snapshots in the history. If you select this, whenever the schedule, this one triggers, whenever the schedule is okay, that is for every 2 minutes, one snapshot will be created and will be maintained in the history. It generated one at 9:59, right? Now it is 10. It will generate one more snapshot copy at 10:01. And you can limit it. You can limit to some 10 copies, 50 copies. So if you have 10 copies limit, let's say, it will start generating 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 like that, 10 for every 2 minutes as per the schedule given here. And on the 11th minute, on the 11th turn, it will delete the first one and generates the 11th one. And 12th turn, it will delete the second one and generates the 12th one. So like that, at any point of time, it will maintain only 10 copies. So now it is 10-1, and I can expect one more here. I think it is still generating. Let me refresh it. I think by this time it should have been done. You can see at 10:06 p.m. one more report is generated, and this is the size of the report. So this is about history tab and properties history. So this is used for snapshot reporting. Snapshot reporting is just used for creating the snapshots of the reports, and you can manage the report in such a way that whenever user calls for it, instead of generating the report, you can get it from the snapshot. How to configure that? Instead of generating the new one, how to configure that to get the report? Let me show you that one too. Before that, shared schedule. What is the shared schedule? Shared schedule is the one, if you see in the site settings, on top you have a site level settings, the complete report manager level settings. You can set all this stuff, and you have two options under general. One is select the default settings for report history. How many copies you want to maintain? Keep an unlimited copy is the default value, or limit the copies of the report history to 10. This is the site level settings. Okay, this is the site level settings. Let me go back and let me select the site level settings in the new page. Now here, if you see select the number of snapshots to keep, the first option is use default settings. That means whatever you set here, that will be taken. For example, if I set it to 100 and click on apply. Okay. Now, if I select this option, it will take the site settings. That means whatever I've given here, that means 100 copies. It will be, it will accept up to 100 copies. So this is site level settings, and whenever you are providing that, whenever you have default settings, means that is the site level settings. And the next option is, let me go here. Next option is timeout. Do not timeout report execution, or the default one is 1800 seconds. So it means something around 60 seconds. So it's a lot of time. This is more than enough, 1800 seconds, right? So it will try to get the data. The connection will be valid for 1800 seconds, and if the data is not getting due to some deadlocks or some other reason, then it will throw error. So if you think that this is not enough, you can increase it and click on apply, or you can select the option do not timeout report execution and click on apply. And the security wise, this is the site level securities. If you want to give whatever the one who have created the new role assignment at the start of the discussion, we have created one role, right? So I've shown you what are the different roles available, and the same option. And schedule, this is the one, site level schedule. So let me create one schedule. I will name it as 2-minute schedule. I'm creating one site level schedule by clicking this option. So I'm scheduling it like for every 2 minutes, starting from 10:06 p.m. and no end time. If you want to stop at this on particular date, you can do that, or else you can leave it. That means no end time. So this is a 2-minute schedule which I created. Okay, you can select it. You can pause this. You can resume it if you want. Okay, I created a 2-minute schedule, that is a shared one. Now, if you see here, let me refresh this page where I can do it here. You can see I can use the shared schedule, that means 2-minute schedule. So I can create the schedule once here, and I can use it in wherever I have the shared schedule option. So the advantage of creating a shared schedule is you can use it wherever you want. Schedule is the one which lets the server know, or report manager know, man, time has come, so you have to do your job. So this is the time you have to do your job, or else it will say some error. That's an error, right? Schedule is the one which tells you what is the schedule of the school. There will be 6 subjects per day. This is the schedule for each and every class. In the same way, it will alert the report manager, man, time has come to execute the report or do some particular task. So this is the shared schedule. and this is about snapshot reporting. Okay. Now if you go to the execution, you can see 2 or 3 options. One is report execution timeout. You can use the system default settings, the one what you have set here. The default settings is set to 1800 seconds, or you can give the do not timeout expiration, or you can select some number of seconds for this particular report. This is report level. This is total site level, right? And if you see the top 2 options, always run this report with the most recent data. That means this will be executed every time. Or if you select this option, render the report from the report execution snapshot. Whatever the snapshots that are available in the report history, already 4 are created. So these 4 snapshots, it will be taken from the last snapshot report. That means that is the fresh data, fresh report available. So it will be taken from the fresh. Or here you can provide, use this following schedule to create report snapshot. If you have not created there, if you have not created the schedule here, if this option is unchecked, and if you have not created the schedule, and if you created a snapshot by using this option instead of using the schedule, in that case you can make use of the schedule here. Use the schedule to generate. That means it will start generating, or else you can directly give it here in the history. You have given it here, so you don't need to specify the stuff again here. So if you select this option, remember it will get the report from the snapshot, or if you select this option, it will execute and get the data. And if you select this option, and if you think that there is no snapshot available in the history, then you can check this, which will create one snapshot on the spot when you click on apply. When you click on apply and this one is checked, a report snapshot will be created in the history. So this is the place where you will call the snapshot reports. And these reports, you can see this is a cached reports, cached one. So it will be stored in the memory, okay, different memory. And do not cache temporary copies of this report. If you select this option by default, it will not have any cached reports. If you select this option, and it will cache the report, and it will wait for 30 minutes. And in that 30 minutes, okay, if any other guy calls the same report with the same parameters, it will be taken from the cache. Instead of executing again, it will be taken from the cache. And the third one, cache a temporary copy of the report, expired copy of the report in the following schedule. You can provide the schedule. For every 10 minutes one time you can clear it, or for every 20 minutes once you can clear it. So this is another option. So you have 3 different options to provide to get the data from the cache. Now this is about snapshots and cache. In snapshots, there won't be any parameter selection. Here it will be like parameter selection, and in snapshots you have to give the default values for the parameters. Now we don't have any parameters, so no issues here up to now. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm copying the same and pasting the same report, okay, and I'm renaming sales duplicate. I'm naming it as sales duplicate. What I'm going to do here is I'll open this report. I will add a parameter. Let's say color param, and I'll name it as color prompt, and I'll give some available specify some values, that is black, blue. Let me give only 2. This is more than enough. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to deploy the same complete stuff again. So everything is deployed. Now this is the report. Let me go back to the reports by opening in a new folder, and let me open the sales duplicate report. You can see this properties has one extra option, that is parameters, which is not available for the normal report which don't have parameters. Now if I go to the history, it will say default report parameter values are missing. Earlier it was saying the data source connection was missing, the credentials to run the report was missing. I set it. This is also pointing to the same data source, so it has no problem with that. Now the default parameter setting which you have to set the default parameter here, the black or blue, whatever you want. And if you don't want to show this prompt text, you can hide it. That means if you come and see here, one second, this will be hidden. Sorry, I have not applied these changes. So I have to set it to black or some default value, and I applied these default settings here. And you can see the parameter value is not showing. The parameter is not showing here. That is called hidden. Okay, I have hidden it, right? Now if I go to the history, this is ready to go now. That error message is not showing. So you have to make sure for creating the snapshots, the first thing is the user to run the report. The user credentials to run the report in the data source should be given. And the next thing is, if there is any default parameters, you have to provide. And the third thing you have to make sure is how many parameters you are giving. If it is more, sorry, how frequently you are taking the snapshots. If it is too frequent, then you have to maintain a lot of memory, lot of space to store all these snapshot reports. So this is about snapshots and cached reports and schedules. You have we discussed about schedules also, right? Now let's discuss about the remaining stuff like subscriptions and so on. Before going to that, let me know if you have any questions. Any queries? Now we're good. We have seen a couple of things here like how to create the snapshots, and this is the site settings page. Let me go to this. Let me go to home. Let me go to reports, and let me go to the sales report. So we have seen a couple of things now. Creating setting different properties, creating snapshots, creating cache and so on. Now, and creating the snapshots manually, this is using this option, or by using schedules. And we have also discussed about common schedules, right? Site level schedule or shared schedule we call it as, or schedule that is related for a particular event here. Like here, this is the normal schedule, specific schedule to this particular report, or this is the common schedule, 2-minute schedule which I have created. Now let's see the subscriptions part, which is also very important. So there are two types of subscriptions, normal subscription and data-driven subscription. So let's see what is meant by subscription first. Subscription will help you in delivering the report in a particular schedule. So that means this is the report, right? You have one report and you can choose the method of delivery. You have Windows file share and you have email option. Now the email option is not showing here, and the reason is the email settings are not configured in the SSRS, reporting server configuration manager. So this is the reporting services configuration manager. You have to configure your email settings. Then only you will find the option email in the subscriptions page. So here this is the email settings. I don't know any email settings at this point of time. Let me go for my mail ID. It's a temporary one. I don't have any mail settings, so I'm giving some dummy settings. Let me check this. Okay, it is set. That means it should be ready here to use. Let me refresh this guy. So the subscriptions means delivering a report, either a file share, that means any folder, or in the report. You can subscribe report in the email and the file share. So you go here. So now if you see here, you have two delivery methods. One is email and one is Windows file share. If I select Windows file share, it will open, it will give the value, the text boxes and everything. The prompt values will be changed, and if it is email, it will show the email related stuff. Now let me configure the Windows file share first. So Windows file share means copying the report in a generating in a particular schedule given to a particular folder. So what is the report name? File name. This is the file name. And if you want to add the extension or not, yes, add the extension. And path, you cannot give path like this. C:// something like that. You are not allowed to give. You have to give. If you give like this, then it will say the path is not valid. The path must conform to uniform naming convention. So uniform naming convention means something like this. You can see I'm creating a folder Let me create a folder. I think there is no folder to copy the data. So I'm going to C drive. I'm creating a folder and I'm naming it as, let me create the folder first. Test. Here I have to give the sharing. I have to give permissions for others to share or share the data from here. In the sharing, I'm selecting share option and I'm giving permissions to everyone so that everyone can write the data into the same. Done. So this is a shared one. Now if I go to the path, you can see you have access to, this is the server name Lenovo-PC / Lenovo-PC is the server name /test. This is the folder which I have given permissions now. So you have to give, this is the uniform naming convention type. You have to give like this. So if I give like this, you can see it is gone. Now what kind of format you want to store the data? I want to store the data in Excel format, let's say. And what is the username to connect to this particular server? There will be something, right? Some username to connect to the machine who has permissions. This guy has permissions, so I've given these guys. And the options here is overwrite an existing file with a newer version. If there is any file, overwrite it. Or do not overwrite, means it won't copy it. If there is already file exists, then it won't copy it. And the third option is increment file names as the new versions are added. So if the first file name is sales, the next one will be sales 1. Third one will be sales 2 and so on. And now this is the place where you have to provide the schedule. Here you can provide the schedule that is specific to this report. That means again back to the same page which you have used to schedule for snapshotting, or you can use the shared schedule. This is the advantage. I have created only once the shared schedule 2-minute schedule and I can use it n number of times. So the password is empty. It is saying let me give the password and click on OK. Now this is a 2-minute schedule. Let's see. The subscription is created. What the subscription will do is the subscription will generate the report and it will store into the particular location I have given. Let's see that whether I have it copies to the particular location or not. It may take 1 minute. Let's wait for that. And meanwhile, let's try to create one email subscription. I'm not sure whether the SMTP settings I have set there are correct or not, but I'll try to explain you how to configure these email settings. So if you configure the subscription using email, then it will send a mail to the person to whom whose mail ID you have specified in the 2CC and BCC address. So let's say I'll give some gmail.com and I'll give some other mail IDs you can give if you want, and you can add more mail IDs by using the semicolon separator. And reply to, if when the user clicks on reply, so to whom it has to send. If you don't set anything, it will be the same. And subject. So at the name, report name will fetch you the, what is the report name? That is the sales. Sales is the report name. So it will get the sales was executed at execution time. What is the time at which it executes? These two are parameters. Dynamically it will get the values. And you want to include the report? No. Or yes, I want to include the report. And in which format? In Excel format. And include the link. Do you want to include the link to the report server? That is this one. This is the link to the report server, right? This is the link using which, if you click on which, the report will be generated. So you want to include the link in the report server or not? If yes, check this option. And priority, what is the priority of this report? If it is a warning report, and again back to the schedule page. Here you can set the schedules specific to this report, or you can share the you can set the shared schedule. Click on OK. So a new shared schedule is done, and you can see the first one is executed. Time subscription, it is executed at 10:20 p.m. The file sales.xls has been saved to this folder. Let's see that it is saved. So what is the advantage? If there is a centralized server where you can copy these files, then it will be easy for the end user to copy to get the report and use it, right? They don't need to go to the SSRS to generate or to call the report to generate. You can schedule it, or you can schedule it. So this is the beauty of subscriptions. Along with the second one is also copied. The second one is also triggered, and you can see sales underscore 1, incremental one. And the next one will be sales underscore 2, and so on. It will be continuously adding. And the beauty of this one is it will send the mails, and it will be very, very helpful one. And I don't know whether I've given the correct correct SMTP settings. If it is correct, then the mail also will be sent, or else it will throw error saying it is saying failed sending error. The server rejected the same sender address. So the sender address is not correct. That's why it is throwing some error. So fine, this is not a big issue. If you configure in your in software companies where you are going to work, it will be configured in a better way, or else they will give exact and correct SMTP server settings. I have given some junk settings. So if you provide the correct one, then it will be it will work, and the mail will be sent to the users that you have specified in the two BCC and CC text boxes. So there is one more option, that is new data driven subscription. The only difference between subscriptions and data driven subscriptions is there the values are dependent. Dependent in the sense the values are hard coded. The same parameters, the default parameters value should be given, and the same stuff. For example, let me go to these properties. Okay, if I don't set this guy, and let me click on apply, and if I go to the subscriptions page, new subscription, you can see at the end select the parameter, right? You have to select the parameter. So this is the normal subscription, but it means you have to select some parameter, either blue, black, that is hard-coded one, like hard-coded one. Static, only one value you can select. But this data-driven subscriptions, you can pass the values dynamically, not only for the parameters, but also which format you want to take, where you want to store, and what type of format, either a file stream or email, what option you want to select. Everything is dynamic. If you can get the data, all these options from the data. Let's say you have a table where you are maintaining, okay, report sales. The type should be file stream. The path should be this one. The parameter value, first parameter value should be this one, and so on. If you can set that, everything will be dynamic here, that data-driven subscriptions. Let me show you an example. I'll name it as data-driven, and choose a method of delivery. Let me set it to Windows file share. Specify a shared data source, or specify why you need this data source. Data source is needed to get the data. What is the values you want to set? If I click on next, it will ask me to provide the server details. I don't have server details handy. Let me go to this data sources and copy the same. So I don't have example. I have not created an example to demonstrate the same. I'll give you a brief about this so you can easily understand. And what are all the credentials you want to use? I'll go for Windows authentication, or I'll give you the credentials. Let's say 2008. So what is the query, or what is the table name where you have the data or the dynamic values that you want to pass to generate the report? So that is, so let's start from, let's say dim product. I don't have any such table, but for demonstration, so click on next. It will verify the connection and the query, and the values are ready. These are all the values that you can set dynamically. That means the file name you can set. The file name is sales, right? The default name, the name of the report is sales. But you can set the file name by choosing some of the field here. So whatever the value that you will get for the color will be set as the file name. So like that, if you have a table where you have a file name, path, render format, and so on, the values can be set dynamically. Whatever the value you get for this report. Generally, what you will do while writing the query, select start from table name where report name is equal to so and so. That means this guy will get only that report details, and these values will be set dynamically. And path, let's say I have path in this French description table column, and render format. I can select the render format here, or I can select the render format based on some column. So in the size column, I have to send the values like HTML, blah blah blah, and so on. And write mode. What is the write mode? How we want to write it? Automatic or none or overwrite? The one what I have displayed you a couple of minutes back. What I demonstrated you a couple of minutes back, or you can provide no values. That means it will not overwrite. And file extension, what file extension you want to show. For example, if you want to show the file extension on a true or false, or you can get the same from the database if you have it in any column, or no value you can specify. In the same way, username and password also you can set it from the either table or hard code it. So this is the advantage of data driven. So the subscription here is driven by the data that is coming from the database. So this is called data driven subscription. You can and the end is saying specify report parameter values for sales. The sales has no parameters, so no issues. It has no parameters and it is not asking for anything. If there is any parameters, then it will ask you, man, what are the parameters? Set that. If you have color parameter, from where you are getting that. You can pass the parameters also dynamically. And if you click on next, again the schedule when you want to execute this particular data driven subscription, and that is the end final. The job will be done. Or if I select 2-minute schedule, done. If I click on finish, a subscription will be created, but this will not be executed, and the reason is the data that is coming from the dim product table is junk. So that's why it will not be executed. It will throw lot of errors. So let me take this one, data driven subscription, and delete it. So this is how you can create the data driven subscriptions. And what happens if I take the data driven subscription is having a parameter. So let's say this duplicate is having a parameter. Color parameter value is missing, I think. Let me set this here. I should not hide this. That's the only thing I have to do. Apply. And if you see view, this is the, one second, I have to refresh it. So properties, I should not hide it. I have to prompt it and I have to apply it. This apply has not worked. Prompt the value. Sorry, this is missing. So this is how I want to prompt it. Fine now. Click on S. It is applied. Now if I click on view report, the report is fine. Now if I go to the subscriptions and select the data driven subscription, it will work just like the last one for everything. And this null delivery provider, that means Windows file share you are very well. That means it will be copied to a Windows folder, and email will be emailed. In null delivery provider means it will create a snapshot. It won't either copy the Windows file share, or it will not email. It will copy it will take a snapshot. That's it. This is one advantage you are having. You can create data. You can use data driven subscriptions to create snapshots by selecting the null delivery pointer. That means it won't deliver to any guy. So let me select it, the file share. Click on next. Data source SQL Server, I have it here, and the password and ID I have it. Let me provide the same. Click on next. Select star from dim product. So this is the table I'm executing. So I'm giving some static values. As you all know what this one is, path. I'll give some field name. This is the one which is having path. For example, let's say render format, let it be Excel. And write mode, leave it to none, 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 none. Username, Lenovo, and I'm giving some password. So here if you see, a new thing is added, that is parameter. Specify a value or get from the database. That means even the color, you can get even the parameter value, you can get it dynamically, or you can assign it dynamically. So this is how you can make full use of data driven subscriptions. This is a super option that is available in the SSRS. So if you click on finish, a data driven subscription will be created. This is a really superb option that is available in SSRS. Now we have discussed about almost everything: subscriptions, standard subscription, that is the normal one, data driven subscriptions, snapshots, link reports, caching, and so on, right? Caching and how to manage the different reports, how to create shared schedule, how to create a schedule that is specific to a particular one. So let me go to this guy. Okay, this is the report which I am having with parameter. Let me go to the properties, and I'm creating a linked report, and I'm naming it as test. So I created a linked report and I'm creating a test. What is the advantage of the linked report? That's what I'm going to demonstrate here. So this is your duplicate report. Let me open in a new page. And this is your link report, whatever you created using this parameterized one. So the advantage of this one is here you can see that you can create subscriptions, right? While creating subscription, you can hardcode one. You have to hardcode one parameter value. If you want to generate or if you want to design a new snapshots or new subscriptions with a different parameter value. Let's say for this subscription, while creating, you have selected the parameter value black. That means for every black color one, the report will be triggered, subscription will be triggered, and the report will be generated. Here, you can create a subscription with a different color. Right, this is one advantage. And you cannot change the report structure. You can easily generate the link report with the same structure with a different parameter value with very less efforts. So that is one beauty of the SSRS. And keep in mind, whenever you are working on the subscription schedules and all those stuff, you have to make sure that SQL Server agent is running. If SQL Server agent is not running, then nothing will work. So why I'm saying is, if you see under SQL Server agent under jobs, all the subscriptions you created will be created here in the SQL Server agent. That is why SQL Server agent should be running. If I double click on this unique ID, you can't understand what is this ID means. You can see this is for report server process. We have created a report schedule, right? That is the same. So let me edit this and show you. It will do some job triggering, scheduling part. So this SQL Server agent should be running always, or else you cannot do anything in SSRS. I can say subscriptions and schedules part. So let me go back to this report server and let me close this, guys. So this is about the deployment part and report server and report manager. All these three. Report server is just used for deploying the reports, and manager plays a major role in managing the reports. And this is mainly SSRS admin task, as I told you, but we don't have separate admins. We are admins for ourselves. We are not developers. We are developers as well as admins. And we have seen how to create link reports and how to create snapshots, how to create caching, and how to create subscriptions, standard and data driven. And we have seen different formats of delivery mode like email and file share. So that's it for this today's session. And we almost ended the SSRS. And thank you guys for your time. Thank you very much for joining the session.